You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another as Christ forgave you. Therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Now, the reason why I read all of these scriptures, because in this video, I want to talk about grudge. A lot of us have had this before. I mean, this isn't something that is abnormal. I mean, it is normal to have this feeling, a grudge. A grudge is an ill feeling or resentment that someone has towards another person after getting hurt or injured. And I can say for myself, the grudge that I am trying to get over is through the police department. So it was a while ago when I was on my way from Indianapolis to go down south to travel. I went from Indianapolis to Mississippi to get baptized, and I had driven hours. I was going from Indianapolis to Mississippi, from Mississippi to Atlanta, Georgia, twice actually, because I had left my paintings in Mississippi. So I left Atlanta to go to Mississippi to go back to Georgia. So I ended up falling asleep on the side of the road, and someone had called the police on me stating that I was being suspicious, which was the worst experience ever, because when the police got there, they had guns drawn on me, telling me to get out of the car and whatnot. And I thought it was very unreasonable and very unnecessary. They could have taken a different approach. They were questioning me. They were asking me what was I doing from Indiana to Georgia, and they were following this protocol saying, do you know what year it is? Do you know what day it is? And I answered the questions, and I told them that the power of God brought me there. And what makes me a little bit angry, actually relatively upset, I'm still very upset by it. I mean, this is going to take a while to get over, was that they lied on a police report saying that I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what state I was in, and I didn't know the year or anything, and that I wasn't making rational sense. So the answers that I gave them, such as little simple things like, oh, the power of God brought me there. That's a spiritual thing. You can't just see a religious person as being irrational, because it's not the case at all. They ended up sending me to the mental hospital, and I was there for 10 days, and I'll just wait. What they ended up doing was they ended up sending me to the mental hospital because they thought that I was having a psychotic moment, when really I wasn't. They were saying things like I was talking to myself, when really I was talking to God. They were just really abnormal with the situation, and I really think that they could have just let me go instead of just doing that. So I was stuck in the mental hospital for 10 days because they thought I was having a psychotic moment. And I had to argue with the doctor saying that I'm normal, I'm completely fine, there's nothing wrong with me, and that I was clairvoyant. And it really took a lot for the medical community to believe that there was nothing wrong with me. And I was pretty much stuck. So there is a lot that I'm trying to get over. I'm trying to get over the simple fact that police officers sent me to a hospital. I am trying to get over the simple fact of the mistreatment that I've experienced in the hospital. There's just a lot to get over, and there was a grudge. I was angry at the police department. I was angry at the hospitals for not taking mental health seriously, because they didn't care. So now what? What is the purpose of this video? I am trying to see how I can align my life with God, because Jesus Christ was given up as a fragrant offering to forgive our sins and to save our lives. And Jesus Christ didn't do anything wrong. All he did was preach the gospel. and say that he is the Son of God, saying that he is the King, which is true. And they didn't want to take that. Just like the police didn't want to take my words, they didn't want to take Jesus's words either. So they treated him unfairly. They beat him. Jesus Christ actually went way worse than what I went through. He was beaten. He was spat on. He was disrespected. He was stripped of his clothing. Anything that you could possibly think of, they did to him. And I am trying to align my life more with Christ because I want to see how I can be more humble. I want to see how I can be more forgiving to the situation. I want to see how I can be more loving and caring to people in general without holding any sort of grudge against people. I do believe in karma. I believe that what you do goes right back to you. So if you have mistreated anyone in any way, that same thing could happen to you in a different way. It may not come to you in the same way, but it could happen to you in a different way. So that's why I always take heed and just try to be as respectful as possible. But when you're in situations like that, it's going to be very challenging. It's going to be very challenging to not get upset. You have to have self-control. I think if there's anyone that could show a perfect example of what it means to be humble, it's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ doesn't want us to hold any grudge against anyone because Jesus himself didn't do that. Like, do you see Jesus walking around grudging on people and hating people and being angry at people for the things that they've done? No. And if we're the likeness of God, then we need to be imitators of God. So this is the purpose of this video. Don't have a grudge, but basically reshift that into something good. Yeah, that was pretty messed up back then with the police officers, but it's not going to stop me from being a loving person, being a kind person that I am. It's not going to stop me.